Page 457. Solve equations with rational coefficients. So what they mean by rational coefficients in this situation is it is fractions and decimals. And that's why I had you get your calculators out for the decimal part. As a reminder, you are going to be, if there's an equation with a fraction, keep it a fraction. Can you stop doing that, please? If there's an equation with a fraction, keep it a fraction. If there's an equation with a decimal, keep it a decimal. With the decimal ones, they are super easy because all you have to do is just use your calculator. With fractions, we have to go back into things that you've learned in the past. Okay. So social networks. Here's one of those I'm hip, I'm with it situations that a textbook is doing. So, I'm going to read it this way. 3/4 of the students in Aaliyah's class belong to a social network. There are 15 students in her class that belong to a social network. So, in actually using modern terms, it means that they're on Insta, maybe. Right. Yeah, that would be fitting. Create a bar diagram and shade in 3/4 or 0.75 of it. So this one's said fraction or a decimal, but that's just introducing that we're going to be doing with both of them today. So shade in 3/4 of that bar. Now it says, label 15 along the bottom to show the amount of the bar that represents 15 students. So my shaded in yellow part, that is 15 of the students. Based on the diagram, circle the equation that can be used to find C, the number of students in Aaliyah's class. So this bar up here is 3/4 of the C class. So 3/4 C. Which one has 3/4 C, or a variation of it? 3/4 C. Which one, Gage? Yeah, 0.75 C. Because the 0.75 of the class is 15. So based on what we had on Monday's lesson for lesson 1 and 2, how are we going to solve for how many kids are in the class? But we're trying to find out how many kids are actually in the whole class. It's from Monday's lesson. What's happening to C, and we need to solve for C. You had this homework due yesterday. Yeah. Yes, sir. We're going to divide both sides by 0.75. Since I can use my calculator, and this is a decimal problem, put this over here by me. I'm going to divide both sides by 15. So I'm going to do by 0.075. 15 divided by 0.75 equals 20. So, how many students are in Leah's class? 20 students. It's asking a question with words in it, so you're going to have an answer with words in it. If the coefficient is a decimal, keep in mind that a coefficient is the number that's stuck to the variable. Are there more somewhere? Oh, yeah. See him? Sweet. The coefficient, this is the coefficient It's the thing that's stuck to the variable. I'm going to be using our actual vocab. It's coefficient, okay? Coefficient. So let's divide by both sides by the coefficient. That's from lesson 1 and 2. Actually, lesson 2. So from on Monday, solve 16 equals 0.025n. Sorry, 0.25n. We wrote an equation just like we did on Monday. We divided each side by the coefficient. After we found that it was 64 for n, we are going to check our work by plugging in our answer in for n. And 16 does equal 16. 16 does equal 16. So these ones are super easy. We just need to plug them into the calculator. It's just based off of Tuesday's information. Sorry, Monday's information. Divide both sides by the coefficient. Make sure you're writing it on both sides. 6.4 divided by 0.08. Some of you might already know it. 8 equals m. For b, same situation. I'm just dividing by the coefficient. This one here, you got to make sure that you know that it's going to be negative. It's going to be negative because a negative divided by a positive is negative. What does that one come out to be? Someone with a calculator? We're doing 4.2. No, it's taking too long. 4.2 divided by 2.8, and that's negative. Negative 1.5. The negative symbol is going to be different on everybody's calculator. Sometimes it is like a plus/minus. For the TI-30s, it's that negative that's in parentheses on the bottom. Yes, I'm trusting you with that. Got it? What was it, 1.2? Negative 1.2, is that what it was? 1.5, thank you. Lower right corner, it's in white. It is a negative with a parenthesis on it. Let me see the front of yours. Yeah, it's the negative sign with the parentheses around it, the white lower right. And it's the same situation for this. I need to divide by the coefficient because it's being multiplied. We're trying to undo what's being done to k. So we want to do that for me. You can just do 10.81 divided by 4.7 because our quotient is going to be positive. What do we get? Yeah, what you got? 8 equals 2.3. A positive 2.3. Any questions so far? This is exactly what we did on Monday. Excuse me. This is exactly what we did on Monday. The only difference is we're just having a decimal, so you're probably going to want to use a calculator on it. On the homework that will not be up until later, maybe even tomorrow morning, on Schoology, I'm going to have the calculator available for you on there as well, where it's the little calculator symbol on the right side. That way you don't have to remember your calculator if you're doing it. Jaya's coach agreed to buy ice cream for all of the team members. Ice cream cones are $2.40 each. I want you to underline the word each. That's a key word to tell you that whatever number is near that, that's going to be the coefficient when you're doing an expression, or sorry, an equation. Write and solve an equation to find out how many cones the coach can buy for $30. So here's our each. 2.4n equals 30. Divide both sides by 2.4. Comes out to be 12.5. Since the number of ice cream cones must be a whole number because it's a tangible thing, they're not going to have like one player eat half the ice cream cone and then the other player eat half of it. it comes out to be 12 ice cream cones. Or they buy one, like they're buying the ice cream cones, and the clerk's like, oh, sorry, you're short, and they cut one in half. For this one, suppose the cones cost $2.80 each. So I'm going to do 2.8, number of cones, and it's for $42. How much can the coach buy? Divide both sides by 2.8. Oops. Come here. 42 divided by 2.8, and that's my guy. 15. 15 cones. 15 cones. That's a generous coach. Now here's the part where it is connecting what we did Monday with what you guys have been learning for years. This is the part where some of the classes have been a little confused, but you've seen all of this before. For these parts here, it gets kind of confusing, but when we do the examples, it'll be more clear. So just hang in there, okay? Recall that two numbers with the product of 1 are called the multiplicative inverses, or reciprocals. I'm going to be using that vocab word as well, reciprocal. So a reciprocal, the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Okay? That's a reciprocal. All you do is you flip the numerator denominator. So you're just flipping the fraction. Any questions on what the reciprocal is? It's just flipping the fraction. If the coefficient in a multiplication equation is a fraction, multiply each side by the reciprocal of the coefficient. So the coefficient is the number that is stuck to the variable. Solve 3/4 x equals 12/20. So we're solving for x. I'm going to rewrite the equation below it. Also with the homework, just like yesterday, it's teeny tiny writing, so you're going to want to rewrite it anyway. You're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the coefficient. In this situation, the coefficient is 3/4 because that's the number that's stuck on the variable. The reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. A lot of dead faces out there. Okay. So when you're multiplying by the reciprocal, this is what you've learned in the past. I'm going to put this over here. You do not have to write this. So if I'm multiplying by the reciprocal, it's going to be the same thing as doing, what would it be? Be the same thing as 12/20 divided by 3/4. What you guys had in the past was cross multiply. Does that look familiar? Okay. That's the lower age group part, but now we're actually using more vocabulary, reciprocal. So that's what that is doing. When you're multiplying by the reciprocal, you're cross multiplying. So after they cross multiply, they are going to simplify. This part here, that is from chapter 3. We are going to find common factors. That's from chapter 5. Okay? I'm going to jump ahead a little bit so we'll have time to do the examples and do some of the homework. And so this video isn't too long. Excuse me. Need some water. I'm talking too much. Number 4 is the same thing, just showing you that it can be negative. Okay? The reciprocal of 7/9 is 9/7. You multiply both sides by it. There's also a way for you to check your answer. We found that -6/7, notice how it simplified it. You need to make your stuff into a mixed number, not an improper fraction. So they found that D was -6 3/7. Before substituting it in, they made it an improper fraction. There are 3 questions on your homework that have an improper that you need to make it into an improper fraction. What's that? Not as many as before. We had on our homework, no. 17 questions. Yeah, but it went pretty quick though, right? And you got your grade right away? Yeah. Let's see here. So they plugged it back in after doing the negative 7/9 times negative 45/7. 315 over 63 equals 5. They simplified it. Does 5 equal 5? Yeah. Yeah, as soon as you guys finished it, it's already there. I don't even need to touch it. I'm going to, for the upcoming homework assignments, I'm going to give an option where you guys can flag it to make sure that they're, like your response was accurate, because it's when I enter those, like number 12 on the test. If I don't have a certain setting done, it wouldn't grade it right. All right. So let's do some examples now. I'm going to zoom in. For those watching at home, that's right. I'm going to rewrite this first off. I'm going to rewrite this 1/2 x equals 8. Now, what is the reciprocal of the coefficient? What is it? Yes. 2 over 1. 2 over 1. So multiplied by 2 over 1. Because of this equal sign, I have to do it on both sides. Times 2 over 1. And keep in mind that 8 is just 8 over 1, if you want to write it like that. That gets rid of the half. This would be 16 over 1, which means x equals 16. Come on, there we go. Minimize, please. Thank you. Now, what is the reciprocal of this coefficient? Negative 3/4 x equals 9. Yeah. Yes, negative 4/3. I'm going to rewrite it. Negative 4/3. Now, I like to keep the negative in the numerator because, as we all know, if you divide a positive number by a negative number, the quotient is negative. If you divide a positive number by a negative number, it'll have a negative quotient. Remember, a quotient is the answer to a division problem. Times negative 4/3. This one here, I'm going to rewrite this as being 9 over 1, and I'll show you why. I know that this is going to be x, but now I need to find common factors of these fractions so I save me steps later. And also so you don't accidentally do an unsimplified question. So, common factors between 9 and 3. The greatest common factor is 3. 3 goes into the 3 one time. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So I multiply across. I'm going to write more than I really need to because this is being recorded. 1 times 3. So I get x equals negative 12/3. Negative 12/3, which is equal to negative 4. Nope, I didn't write that right. Sorry. This comes out to be 12 over 1, which is equal to just negative 12. Sorry about that. Darn it, it was going so well. Any questions there? Not yet? Okay. This is as hard as it gets. Okay? So if you feel comfortable with this right now, you're all good. All right, I'm going to rewrite this. Negative 7/8. Don't forget to do those negatives. Negative 21/64. I have a big numerator and a big denominator over there, so you know that I'm going to be reducing, most likely. I need to multiply the coefficient by its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of negative 7/8 is negative 8/7. So I'm just flipping the fraction. Negative 8/7. Now I'm going to reduce by finding common factors. Oop, not that one, that's too thick. I have a common factor here of 7 and 7. 7 goes into 7 one time. 7 goes into negative 21 negative 3 times. I also have a common factor here. Negative 8 goes into negative 8. Sorry, negative 8 goes into 8 negative 1 times. 8 goes into 64 8 times. I just have x on the left side. On the right side, I have negative 3 times negative 1 times 8 times 1. The reason why I'm going a little bit faster through this is because we've had this before, this part, since like 4th grade. So now I have negative 3 times negative 1 is just 3. 8 times 1 is 3. So x equals 8/3. And if I wanted to check that, I could plug it in here. But the thing is, using a calculator with the fractions, it's going to give you a decimal for your guys' calculators. So just be careful about that. Yes, sir? Yeah. Yep, good question. I'm going to point that out. A negative times a negative became a positive in the numerator. Valerie needs 2/3 of a yard for fabric to make each hat. There's the each. So you know that it's going to be 2/3 something equals the whole thing. This is just like one of the other examples, so I'm just going to point out that this says each on that one. And you know that it's going to be 2/3 times the variable, so 2/3 is going to be the coefficient. We're going to skip number 1 because it's just like number 2, and that's the easy part of it. So for number 2, our coefficient is negative 2.5. So that means that we have to get the variable by itself. So we need to divide both sides by the coefficient. Negative 2.5, negative 2.5, which just leaves b over here. 20.5 divided by 2.5. I'm not taking the time to put a negative in my calculator because I know that my solution is going to be negative. So it's going to be a negative 8.2. So you guys got in your calculators? Sometimes I accidentally hit equals twice, especially on my phone calculator. I always mistype on that thing. All right, back to the fractions. This one we're also going to be reducing. We have, is this guided practice or independent practice? Guided, okay, good. I'm going to rewrite this so I have room. Negative 5/18 h. Negative 5/18 is my coefficient. I'm going to multiply both sides by the inverse, or sorry, by the reciprocal, times negative 18/5. Yeah, I'm going to do the negative on the bottom. Show you can do it. I have to do it to both sides. This side I'm going to have just h. I have common factors. It's red. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 18 9 times. Negative 1 and negative 5 don't have a common fraction or common factor. Jeez. In the numerator, I have -9. In the denominator, I have -5. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. But I need to make it a mixed number, 1 4/5. Okay? Does anybody need that still visible? The average growth of human hair is 1/2 of an inch per month. Here's per. That's like each. Per. Okay? That's like each. We know that 1/2 is going to be, or 0.5 is going to be the coefficient. Find out how long it takes for a human to grow 3 inches of hair. So my equation is 0.5 h equals what? Excuse me. What does that equal? Yeah. Yes, that's the answer, but we're just doing the equation right now. What goes after the equal sign? Yes, 3. So for our solution, you probably can see it right away, but I'm going to just work this out real quick. Solution. 6 months. 6 months to grow your hair 3 inches. Three-fourths of the fruit in a refrigerator are apples. There are 24 apples in the refrigerator. Maybe it's like the school refrigerator. How many pieces of fruit are there in the refrigerator? So this one doesn't say each or per, but we're talking about 24. My phone will not shut up. There are 24 apples in the fridge. How many pieces of fruit are in the refrigerator? So 24 is what we know. But we don't know 3/4 of the fruit. So 3/4 of what we don't know is 24. And that represents how many apples are in there. I need to multiply by the reciprocal. 3/4 f equals 24 over 1 times 4/3. I have a common factor here of 3. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 24 8 times, which equals writing more than I expect you to because of recording. 8 times 4 is 32. First, so there's 32 pieces of fruit. 34 pieces of fruit. Yeah. What did I just say, 34? I sang 34? Sorry. I turned away. What is the process of solving a multiplication equation with a rational coefficient? Okay. Divide both sides by coefficient. That's from Monday. Or multiply by reciprocal. Multiply by reciprocal.